Justice and security aren't normally seen as development services. However, without security and justice, people can't access other vital services like health and education. And development as a whole suffers. The central message from the World Development Report is the need to build and transform legitimate institutions of law and justice. But efforts must also be made to ensure that reforms are sustainable and culturally appropriate. The question of how and in what forms fair law and justice systems can be supported will be the focus of our discussion today.
As the World Development Report this year makes very clear, one of the foundational requirements for development is security. You need to have law and order. And that's typically delivered through the justice system.
But what about the question of immediate needs? When how can you justify putting loads of money into governance and strengthening the rule of law when there's people going hungry, etc.?
And our role is to explain that in order to sustain the delivery of public services, and in order to sustain the providing health and education, etc., to these kids, to these families, we need a legal framework, and we need rules and regulations that can manage, those kind of activities that have a direct impact on development.
And the preliminary findings of the research we are doing is first, both state and non-state systems are dysfunctional at the community level. So if you like, as I said earlier, 85% of the people are basically trying to find their way around to resolve a lot of their issue with no structured system to support them.
But if you look at Afghanistan, for example, over the last 10 years, the donors arrive, they want to rebuild a conflict or post-conflict country quickly. What do? They focus on the things that are familiar. Let's infuse the court system with a lot of money. Let's train a lot of judges. Let's train prosecutors, because then we can prosecute poppy. Let's build a lot of courthouses. Let's do things that are visible and quantifiable so that we can generate good news stories for our stakeholders back home. And all of that on the face of it is useful, but it's very, very remote from the lived experience of the average Afghan person.
People feel that the state is so irrelevant to their lives. They don't question the legitimacy, but because it's just not present, they just don't feel it's relevant to their lives.
How can you move from that situation of total mistrust in a particular court system, which was working one way or the other, to a court system that needs to address immediate issues, such as trying, corrupt officials, looking at restoring some kind of confidence in institutions that have lost confidence over years of corruption and mismanagement. And this is something that we see today happening in what we call the Arab Spring. In many of those countries, the transitional system discussion is at the center of the political debate.
What it really highlights is the difference between erecting a formal legal system with an emphasis on law and order, and then sustainable justice at the local level, which is both a long-run project and a very different kind of intervention and system-building exercise. But then we return to the long-running, unresolved foundational issues of fairness, equity, and how to divide and share finite resources. That's not only a generational issue, it's a multi-generational issue.
If you'd like to subscribe to the podcast of Praxis or watch episodes online, go to worldbank.org/Praxis. Thank you. Goodbye.